So I am sure that many of us at various times of our lives have done things that we are so proud of. Like, I don't know about you, but I certainly had a place where every single time I got a medal for competing in a swim meet or getting straight A's for the time at school, I showed it off in my room and I wanted everybody to know about it. And of course, this was, just before Facebook really became a thing. It was right around the time of MySpace. So I was not quite into tweeting and posting every little detail of my life at that point. The best part, though, of that was that it was all the things that we are proud of. And if I wanted to look at that, I can look on people's Instagram feed and find out exactly what it is that they want me to see about their life. Because obviously they're curating their life in such a way to reflect either the use of a handbag, a special vacation, something else that they're proud of. It may not be a medal, but there's something they're proud of. And they're happy, they carry it with them. But my question is, what about the opposite? What happens when it's something that we're not proud of? How do we handle that? Do we still post about it on Facebook and Instagram? Do we share it with other people? What do we do with that shame? I think the vast majority of us tend to just, push it off to the side. Pretend it didn't happen. Pretend that you didn't say that ridiculously silly thing at a cocktail party with your coworkers when you guys went out after work one day because you were all Zoom fatigued and wanted to meet up again in person. Or that time that you may have accidentally hooked up with a person that you didn't intend to. That one you may not want to share. Of course, there's many other things like saying the most inappropriate comment that could potentially hurt the person that you're with. Oy vavoy. But I think one of the things that we learn in this week's Torah portion is, at least for me, a very powerful lesson of what do we do with those moments and how do we process them. When Moses came down the mountain after he was up there and he was with God and he wrote the Ten Commandments, and you can only imagine the type of spiritual ecstasy that that man must have experienced. And he descends and he sees the people have pulled together all of their gold. How they acquired it, that's another story. But they pulled it all together, and what did they do? They made a golden calf, and they were worshiping the golden calf. Pretty much almost as if the entire Exodus journey hadn't happened, and it's like they had simply forgotten their relationship with God, forgot that Moses was up on the mountain making a covenantal pact for them for all eternity, and did the polar opposite of what they should have done. You want to talk about communal shame? That's, I think, one of the principal moments in the Israelite history in the Bible of not just one person, but the entire community acting in a way that was antithetical to everything that had led up to that point in their journey. And what does Moses do? Moses, well, he's no better. He takes the Ten Commandments and he smashes them on the floor. This thing that God supposedly wrote with his or her own finger in carving the Ten Commandments. Everybody at that moment acted shamefully. Everybody acted without thought or consequence of what their behavior meant for the broader community. But what happened next was amazing. The gold was ground up. People had to drink it. They had to physically ingest the thing that they had done. They had to live with the consequences on their insides and feel what that really felt like. As if that wasn't enough, they collected all of the pieces of the 10 Commandments, put that on in a box, and subsequently carried it with them for the entirety of their journey into the desert. After Moses went up the mountain and got a second set of stones, or a second set of tablets, a little bit before the iPad, he had iPad part 1 wholly intact, iPad part 2 broken up. The shame traveled with them. And interestingly, I believe it served as a reminder of what not to do. That when you're scared, we want to fall and do fall at times into our old behavioral patterns, into those things that we wish we didn't do anymore, but we're still doing. And we have shame around it. We look and we see that what did Moses do? Moses at times acted like a great, brilliant leader. At times he wasn't quite so brilliant. But I think that it was also powerful that he too had to witness and observe that where he went, the broken 10 Commandments went with him. That his shame was public. And I don't think it was done in a way that was intended to make him be or remind him that he was so much less of a leader. I actually think it was done so that he was reminded to be more of a leader. That it's okay for us to make mistakes. It's okay for us to engage in tshuva. He went back up the mountain. He got back up. He worked with God. He redid the 10 Commandments. The people didn't take their gold again and make another golden calf. They made other mistakes, different mistakes, and I won't say better mistakes, but they continued on their path too. But again, I think the most important point of this entire narrative is that the shame, the mistake, all of it went with them. It went in their bodies, and they carried it as a reminder, not as a punishment, but to push themselves to be better. So I'm not advocating that you go ahead and alter how you curate your Instagram feeds. I wouldn't do such a thing for some people. But I would say that maybe a more honest description of who you are might help everybody remind us that we are simply humans. We aren't perfect. We make mistakes. Sometimes we do amazing things and are super kind to other people. And other times we act, and as it were, we scrape the pan of our behavior. We act into our base self. But by presenting only one flat image, a fake image, I don't believe that helps us as a society. I think what helps us grow is for us to present ourselves as wholly human. The flaws, the perfections, the highs and the lows together. Because ultimately when we reflect and we look at us as a whole, the entire picture, from that point, I believe, we can continue on the journey with our shame, with our highs, but ultimately together, and eventually reach a higher point. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may we have the courage to do this going forward.